Get hold of him and drag him upstairs. I'd take the school books away from
Who's
him.
this, Bobby?
Bobby. I would take his school books away from him and order him out of the house. And then I'd go out and he'd be sitting on the curb. All the other kids were playing. And if anyone came out and said words to the effect of, oh, where'd you come from? You did never come out. I hear my son telling this group of kids, my mother's very strict. She makes me come in and do my homework first. And I stood there and I thought, now I know what mothers are for. They are so that kids can blame them.
Oh, come on. You didn't make him do his homework first? Come on.
I certainly did not. I
What?
never had to with Bobby.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding.
Maybe you did that with me.
I truly mean...
You chained me to the dining room table, I think.
I dragged the books out of his hand, and he was very upset, and I said, out, get out and play. And then my other memory is dressing them
We're going to have to get Bob on here and ask him his viewpoint. We'll get the 2 points, and then we'll have a contest and see who's right.
Dressing them up, and you'll have that fun when it's winter with the snowsuits. Getting on the boots and getting them warm and tying the scarf around their throats and the hat and the mittens, 3 or 4 of them. And they would go out, and if there was a dog on the block, they would stampede to get back in the house 5 minutes later. And that kept up. I mean, they were like 8 and 9 years of age, and I finally met them one day, and I met them with a raised fist, and I said, out.
But wait a minute, when did you get...
The only thing that worked, I said they had more to fear from me than from the dog.
What about when you did get a dog eventually?
Of course I did. I had to.
Eventually that was Christy, right? That was the dog.
Years later.
Well, but you got the dog, and then the dog was terrorized and it had to leave. Right? Molly?
Oh, Molly.
Yes, that's the dog, right?
That was the second one. We had 2 dogs.
What did we do the first one?
And then I don't remember. I'll tell you one thing. When we had the dog, not Molly because I got rid of her, but we had another dog after that. I don't remember the name at all. And one day I had this gate. I had a gate on the kitchen door. And I kept calling Suzanne for dinner, I guess. And nobody came. And then finally one of the kids said, Susie won't come. And is Suzanne in there? She won't come. And I finally dragged her. She was in the living room. And I said, out. You got your dinner on the table in the breakfast nook in Belrose. And when I forced her to go in the breakfast nook, Bob had put tongue and groove up with a little lip about that wide on the top of it, halfway. She was sitting on that with her legs tucked up to keep away from the dog. And I said, oh, my God. I think my daughter's more important than the dog is. And we didn't keep her, and it wasn't until years later we went for a ride with Matthew, Lauren, and Jenny, your father and I, out on the island, and it was on the South Shore. We just took a ride, and I said, oh, Bob, look, let's go down and see them. And it was a sign on a pole on Montauk Highway that said, puppies, free puppies. And Bob says, Rena, you don't go to look at free puppies. I said, oh, come on, we've got the kids, let's go. And part of the story, we saw the house, got up. Woman answered the door, and she had a monster black eye. I mean, her cheek was bruised, and her head and her eye was swollen. And, of course, we stared at her. And she said she was doing renovations in her house. She said a carpenter had walked along with a board, a 2x4 on his shoulder, and she called him, and he turned around, and she got whacked in the eye with the 2x4.
That's what she told you, though.
So he's talking, Bob is talking to her. And the 3 kids and I were out in the kitchen, and they had the puppies in a pen, and they were about 5 of them. And I came out, the kids paraded by, carrying 2 of them, blonde one and a black one. And Bob's going, Renee, wait a minute, what, 2? I said, let's get them. And we got in the car to drive home, and they were both very lovely-looking dogs. Christy was very quiet on the floor of the car. It was the station wagon. And Molly, the one who went, not Molly, what did Tommy name her? I called them Christy and Columbia. It was Columbus Day.
But there were 2 dogs in the beginning?
Yeah.
What happened to the other one?
I'll tell you. It was Columbus Day weekend. So right off the bat, I said, this is Christy, and that's Columbia. They were both females. Halfway home, Columbia was racing from one part of the back ledge back and forth like a whirlwind. And Christy was throwing up on the floor of the car. And I thought, oh my God, what did I do to myself? So Bobby, David, Tommy, Chris, you weren't living at home. And they all converged when they heard we had 2 dogs home. And I really thought we'd keep them, and then I thought I'd put food out in the backyard for both dogs. Columbia would inhale her whole dish and go over and shove Christy out of the way, and Christy would back up and just sit there watching the dog eating her dinner. So I said, one of them has to go, and Tommy immediately took Columbia.
Tommy? Where'd Tommy take him to go?
Over to my mother and father's house. They were in that apartment over there.
So what happened to the dog from there?
Oh, he eventually brought the dog over to ASPCA. I was crying about it because he went to work and he penned the dog up in the bathroom, and there was no training for the dog, and Bobby was having a fit. When he'd get home, there would be stuff everywhere, so then Tommy left the dog in the bathroom all day. And I called, I don't know who I called at that point, but I was in tears telling them, this is a dog that's going to be big, and my son has the dog in the bathroom. And they said the dog needs places to run, and it's cruel to keep her. So I said to Tommy, if you're not going to take care of that dog, you have got to give it to someone who will. And according to him, he did. If you're going to cry, we'll give you back. We'll give you back. You can't cry. No, you can't cry.